Hi guys, Unknown Audio. So today I wanted to show you a mixing technique using pink noise. Now this is something you might not be familiar with. It's something I wasn't familiar with until about a year ago. Basically what it is a way for us to balance our tracks in any project using pink noise as a reference point. Now I'm not going to go into the theory of why this works or how this works, pretty much because I don't know. To be quite honest with you, I don't know the theory behind it. All I know really is that it works, for one thing, in a lot of cases, not in all cases, and we're basically using the pink noise as a reference to allow us to balance our mix as a whole. And this is never going to be a magic bullet, but I know the first time I tried it I was amazed. I couldn't believe the difference it made to the tune I used it on. Subsequently I used it on a few different tunes and with varying results. Some just average, others it kind of ruined the character, and some it really benefited the tune. So I thought it worth sharing that with you today. So before I get stuck into it, I'll just very quickly talk about the way that we would normally use this. Now generally you want to use this on a tune that is pretty much finished, and all that's left to do is the mixing side of it, rather than any major kind of arrangement and sort of writing stages. One other thing I should point out very quickly is what we're going to do is we're going to zero out all the volume right across the entire project. So we're going to bring everything back to zero. We're going to start from scratch. I mean, all our sounds and drums and patterns are all in there, but we're going to, from a mixing point of view, we're going to zero everything out, and then we're going to bring up each track individually, one by one, using the pink noise as a reference, and hopefully get a good balance across the entire track. So that's basically what we're attempting to do. Now, one thing I should just point out: if you have volume automation on the main fader of any channel or track within your project, this will be difficult to do, because the way we're going to be doing it is to zero all of the faders and then blend it in to the desired amount. So if you've got volume automation dialed in, obviously if you pull the volume down to zero, as soon as you hit play, that is going to jump back up to wherever the automation is at that particular point in the track. So if you are wanting to use this on a track with volume automations drawn in, you may have to get around it by either redrawing those volume automations in using, say, a gain plugin to achieve the same effect, and then deleting your volume automations, or you could keep the volume automations in place and then put a gain plugin in the front of your plugin chain, so that you can pull the volume on that completely down and use that to blend and kind of use that as a main volume fader. Hopefully that makes sense. Just a couple of things that I thought I should point out. So without further ado, I'll jump back in and we'll get on with the video and hopefully show this quite useful technique for you. Just quickly, if you don't know what pink noise is, which I didn't really, I've just typed it into Google, and it's saying pink noise, random noise having equal energy per octave, and so having more low frequency components than white noise. So that's what pink noise is. Now this is a tune I've got from a while back. It's a bit of a hip hop kind of beat, nothing too special. It sounds okay, but when I listen back to it, it just sounds a bit flat and a bit lifeless. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this technique. I'll show you how to do it, and then hopefully it will improve our overall mix. So it's not a great track. It's a bit repetitive. It needs a lot more work, but I need something that's in a fairly finished state, a fairly finished form to demonstrate this. So this will do for our purposes today. The first thing that we need to do is we want to add a new track, and we're going to choose a software instrument. Now here we're going to come down to our utility, and we're going to select the test oscillator. Just brace yourselves, we're going to get a high-pitched tone in a second. Okay, now on this test oscillator, we have this option here. We have the white noise, but we also have pink noise. So if we select this, that's all we have to do for the time being. Now I'm going to leave that turned off, because otherwise, let me just show you what the pink noise sounds like. So there we go, a nice bit of noise. The next thing we need to do is we need to come to our mixer, and I tell you what, I'm just going to check quickly if I've got any volume automations going on. Hopefully I haven't. No, I haven't. Okay, that's good. So yeah, let's come to our mixer, and basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab every single track, every channel, including my send channels, my auxiliary channels, and I'm going to pull them down to 0. So now we've wiped the slate clean, and we're ready to remix our entire tune. Now, as I said before, if you find yourself getting a bit bogged down in a project and you kind of tying yourself in knots, you don't really know where to go with it, this can be a great way to sort of mentally reset yourself and sort of start from scratch almost. So what I'm going to do is, this is our pink noise. So I'm just going to name that quickly. Is that right? Yes, that's it. Okay. So, sorry, we want the volume of this one at 0 dB. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to solo this pink noise, and then starting with one of our sounds, I'm going to solo that channel as well. We're going to play the track where that channel has some content. I'll unmute the pink noise, and then with the pink noise going, I'm going to pull this volume up of whichever track I'm on at the time being until I can hear it, and then we'll slowly bring it down until we can barely hear it, or until it just disappears under the pink noise. Okay, so let's get started. So if I come to the test oscillator, I'll turn this on. You'll have to excuse, you're going to have to sit through some pink noise for a while. That is the only drawback with this technique, but sometimes it's worth it. Okay, so about there, I feel like the kick has just disappeared. I can maybe hear the faintest kind of sound to it. So that channel is done. Let's move on to our next one. The reason I didn't do this first one here is because this is our ultra beat, and I'm using that in the multi-output format. So there's nothing coming directly out of here. It's all coming out of the auxiliaries. So that's why I started with the kick here. So next, let's do the snare. Okay, so that's the snare mixed. What I'm going to do, obviously you don't need to sit here and listen to me go through all of these tracks. All I'd say is what we're aiming to do is to, the way I do it would be to bring up the volume of whatever you're working on till you can hear it, and then drop it back down until it's almost just barely audible, or until it just disappears behind the pink noise. And at that point you can mute that channel, move on to the next one, and you just keep going like that until you've gone through all of them. Now, one thing I will say, obviously where we've got auxiliary channels and we've got our parallel processing, so that might be reverbs, delays, parallel compression, effects channels, that kind of thing, I would leave those completely down. I'd mix every track using the pink noise, and then once we've got that done, then we can listen to the mix as it stands, and then slowly blend back in our auxiliary sends to taste. We just listen. We could do it blending that back in with the pink noise also. The only issue with that is unless it's on unless the send is on a pre-fader, we need to have some volume amount on the track that's being sent to, say for example, the reverb, for us to get any signal on that reverb. So it can be a bit tricky to do on your auxiliary sort of processing. So I would leave that to blend in to your own, using your ears and to your own tastes. So I'm going to pause the video. I'll carry on with the same technique right the way across all of these different tracks, and then we'll come back and we'll see if we can hear any difference. Okay, and we're back. I have to tell you that it's quite a relief to mute that pink noise. Okay, so I've been through and I've blended all of our channels individually to the pink noise. I haven't listened to this back yet, so I don't know what it's going to sound like. Okay, so that hasn't taken too long. So I guess let's just go through, and what I'll do, I'm going to mute all of my auxiliary channels. I've got one down here, this parallel compression channel as well. I must have automated something on here or something. I'm going to mute all of those, and I'm going to unmute everything else, and I'm going to give it a listen. I don't know if you would have, maybe some of the more astute among you might have noticed how much the fader levels are sitting a lot lower in general than how they were before. Whoops, we don't want to unmute that one. This is one thing I've found quite often. I think my tendency, and I'm sure a lot of other producers have found the same thing, that you tend to just keep trying to push every fader as high as possible to keep that sort of energy and excitement in the mix. So just if you feel like something's getting lost, rather than pulling down 20 channels to make that one sound louder, you just push that one channel up, and after a while that just gets too much. And this way I found it's quite a good way to rein you in a bit and pull back all your volumes, so that you're at a much healthier place in terms of your sort of gain structuring. And what I've found this does as well is it allows you so much headroom on your sort of stereo output, that if you want to do any sort of mastering, put any mastering effects on your stereo output, or after you've bounced your tune out, it gives you so much more scope to enhance your sounds that way. So that's another good reason for using this. Okay, so I've unmuted all the tracks apart from the sort of processing parallel channels. So we'll just give it a quick listen. We'll go from sort of this main, we'll go from like a main section here. Just give it a listen. So you can probably tell straight away that's much quieter than it was before. I'll just take the processing off, because I've got some processing on the stereo output. Now the first thing I had was a gain plugin, because I was pulling down some of the gain because it was clipping. Now you can see there's no clipping whatsoever. We're peaking at probably around -12. So okay, so I'm actually going to let me just turn my headphones up, because that is really quite quiet. Okay, it sounds quite nice. We haven't got any of our parallel processing going on, so let's bring these back in. So let's start with this one. Ooh, don't want to solo it. I quite like that there. I've pushed it up quite a lot, but it's given us quite a gritty sound. I like that. This is one of the other benefits of this technique, because a lot of our fader volumes, we've pulled back a lot on them. We can really push some of the processing and the effects, and it really brings some of those elements to life. So that sounds nice to me. Let's come back down here. So let's add in some small reverb. Something like that sounds quite good to me. Okay, large reverb. Okay, what's this one? Bass proc? What does that mean? I don't know. Okay. I keep soloing them, don't I? Okay. Oops. Okay. Let's just let's go back to the beginning. Let's just have a little listen from the start. So from here, it's you know, this isn't going to immediately make every song you use this technique on sound amazing, but it's given us a good place to start from. I'm just going to tweak this sound a little bit on the parallel compression channel. Just want to EQ this slightly. Gonna have a look at this saturation plugin. Okay, let me keep the lows instead. Let's switch this from keep high to keep low. I prefer that. Okay, I feel like these keys are a little bit low. Okay, that will do roughly for now. What I'm going to do now is just add some processing on the stereo output, and just as a quick sort of dirty mastering chain. So okay, it's still getting. Let me just come back here. Sometimes it's going to take some tweaking about. Let me just have a listen to this parallel compression again. Pull that back a bit. That's better. Okay, so spent a little bit of time there tweaking it. What I might do now is I might just save this as a different version, and then if I bounce to audio our previous mix, and then bounce also this pink noise mix, and then we can just have a quick A/B and see whether there is any improvement. Personally, I'm not sure there's going to be a vast difference with this one. It's hard for me to tell because I've been listening to this one for a little while, but we'll find that out. I know with some of the mixes in the past there's been a vast difference, and I've been actually shocked at how poor my mixes were before using this technique. But anyway, there we go. That is mixing with pink noise, and it may not be useful in every situation. It may not work on every song, but it's another technique, another tool for us to use, and hopefully that's a good one for you to try out. Okay, so I've just bounced both of these versions out to audio. I've just dropped them back into a new Logic project, and I've just played through them just to check to see if there was any volume difference, because if we're trying to A/B, really we don't want any obvious volume difference between the two. We only want to pick up on the sound quality of the production rather than any volume differences. And the original mix, my original mix, was peaking at minus 0.2 dB, and the pink noise mix was exactly at 0. So that must have been how I had the kind of limiters set up on the two different projects. But essentially there's very little volume difference between the two, although if you look at these waveforms you can see the pink noise version is a lot fuller in the sort of waveforms. So I mean, I'll just play you through this quickly. We'll just have a quick listen to the difference, and there is quite a noticeable difference. Let's have a listen. Okay, so as you can probably gather, there's quite a big difference between those two, and it feels to me as if the drums are more present, the top end has opened out, and there seems to be a lot of brightness and space that there wasn't there before. The previous mix was a lot darker, and that's probably as a result of me trying to push the bass frequencies and low frequencies too high and sort of filling up all the headroom, which I probably have a tendency to do too much. So there we go. In this case, the pink noise mixing trick has seemed to work extremely well for us, and this could be something that benefits you. It's definitely benefited me. Is it going to solve your issues on every single production? No, I'm sorry, it's not going to, but it could really help us out, and it's opened me up to realize some of the mistakes I've been making in production, and this gives us a tool for hopefully at least giving us a good starting point to improve our mixes. So I hope you enjoy that one, guys. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you again on the flip side. Peace out.